kids have a song about, because they apparently, Clint makes the best egg in the nest. So the kids always sing that when he makes egg in the nest.
Yeah, egg in the nest became our travel breakfast go-to.
Yeah, it's like toast with like a little hole, and then you put the egg yolk in there.
No, that sounds good. Kind of well.
Yeah, I know. We should make that.
This is Worldschooling Q&A. I'm Astrid, creator of The Wandering Daughter. As a traveling family, we've spent 4 years traveling full-time to over 18 countries and 6 continents. Wherever we go, we try to learn as much as we can about the countries and cultures we visit. While we didn't coin the term, we like to call this worldschooling, using the world as our classroom. Each week, my husband Clint and I will answer one question about worldschooling and share our experiences of traveling the world with our kids. Ready to get started? Great! Let's dive in.
Okay, this week we're answering the question, what are the best ways to teach my kids to feel emotionally secure while traveling?
I think a good place to start is, what does that mean?
Emotionally secure. I know. What is security? So in my mind, it's like stability, right? Having stability, having confidence, and also just like feeling safe to be able to share things about themselves.
Yeah, I think so. I think just the stability is the big thing for me, and that can mean all sorts of things. Feeling like they're in a safe space, having confidence, make decisions, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I agree. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've talked about it in past episodes of like, travel can be stressful because of like the unexpectedness of things, changing plans, logistics, having to deal with that stuff, and then just missing home. Mm-hmm. And so I think like encouraging, previous episodes we talked about like encouraging relationships among the parents, but now it's more like we want to focus on how do we encourage our kids to feel like safe enough to be able to express what they're feeling, or like how do we encourage our kids to like be able to identify their needs and express it to us.
Yeah. Well, let's take each of the stability, safety, and confidence, kind of go one by one about like what are some of the challenges and some of the ways we've overcome it. So stability, you were mentioning the constant like changing, moving different locations, that kind of stuff. We talked about a little bit in a previous episode, but what are some other challenges you see, or just ways that we've coped with some of those instability moments?
Yeah, I think in terms of like coping, like finding things, keeping some routines throughout wherever we go. We're changing locations. I think it's important to have like certain routines that are the same. For a while, we were like reading stories at night with our kids, like bedtime, we read stories. But even like a small routine is just like we have mealtimes together all the time,
Yeah. Well, in addition to just mealtimes in general, to dive deeper, we specifically have very similar breakfast routines. So we almost always eat breakfast at home.
Yep.
So that we don't have to go anywhere first thing in the morning. And it usually is very similar wherever we go.
Yeah.
So it's usually some sort of cereal as an option, or some sort of like eggs and toast option, or something like that. So, and fresh fruit and that kind of thing. So, and of course the actual elements change, especially like the fruits from where we go, but like that consistency, I think helps. And we do a lot of grocery shopping. That's kind of one of our routines.
Yeah. Going to the grocery store and buying food. Even though the locations change, the grocery store shopping experience is the same. Speaking of like breakfast, the kids have a song about, because they apparently, Clint makes the best egg in the nest. And so the kids always sing that when he makes egg in the nest.
Yeah, egg in the nest became our travel breakfast go-to.
Yeah, it's like toast with like a little hole, and then you put the egg yolk in there. So.
That sounds good. I kind of want one. Right
Yeah, I know. We should make that. Well, and the other thing related to stability I want to add is like we mentioned, carrying comfort home stuff, but we traveled with like a world map, and it was like a giant world map. It was actually a tablecloth that we like would tack up on the wall wherever we would go. And so that was like, we picked this trick up from like another Worldschooling mom. She's like OG Worldschooling mom. But it kind of, by putting it up on the wall, and putting it in, in every space that we were in, finding a space on the wall to put it up, it created this like, oh, this is a familiar thing and it's, in every single place that we go to, that's like, that it was like a ritual of like, let's find a space for this map so that we have it on the wall and it makes this space our own. Yeah. And not just like some temporary lodging that we're staying in.
Yeah. And there's a few things like that, right? The map was the big one, but we have like these little dry erase things that we travel with too, that we put up that's for schedule. It's for various lists and things like that. So that stuff helped kind of create a sense of home. Well, another thing is pop culture is just a huge thing in our family. We enjoy movies and music. So we travel with like a Bluetooth speaker so that we can listen to music as we travel. We travel with a Roku device so that we can have all of the different streaming platforms that we use. Yeah. But we also would go to the movies or the mall. We'd go to the movies in the mall. Not all the time, but we would do them, periodically, as that was also the great thing about, I don't know, you may think this is great or not. We think it's great. Great thing about malls across the world is there is a familiarity with all of them, how they're structured and what they are. So we were this is before we started Worldschooling, but we took the kids to India and it was a really hot day one day. So we just went to the mall and hung out. And it's just that familiarity. We know we can get food there. We know we can kind of shop. We can just chill out. There's a play structure.
And air conditioning.
Yeah, and air conditioning. And we did that in Vietnam, and we did that in, all throughout the world, even in Spain and London and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff is really helpful. Yeah.
Going to the movies.
Yeah. What about safety?
Well, so with safety, I think physical safety, but also emotional safety, right? Yeah. Like, so there's lots of ways that you can, strategies you can do to keep your kids physically safe. We talk about like, I think in past episodes, we've talked about like strategies for, or like, scenario planning, right? Like what are some, things you can do if your kid gets lost or things like that, right? Or like having a safe word and things. But I want to talk more about like the emotional safety part here because, it's important to foster an environment where you are encouraging your kids to talk about like their emotions and they don't feel like they'll be judged or punished for saying things that maybe might not be like, might conflict with your own personal like beliefs or your emotions and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially as you're being exposed to other cultures that they, they're just processing the things that they see, right? They don't yet have a lot of the biases that we as adults tend to have. Yeah. And so when they are able to kind of present that stuff to you, whether like people look different or this food seems weird to them or there's just, whatever unfamiliarities or whatever they're observing and they're trying to describe, just making sure you're allowing a safe space for that to happen. Yeah. So that you can also address it from a very objective manner and not a subjective manner. So, and not try to enforce your biases on onto that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is like, just us talking about this kind of speaks to our own personal like parenting philosophy, because we both kind of came from, or maybe not you, but I definitely came from a family where, the parent is the ultimate, like they know everything and kids have to listen. And I've really worked hard to sort of, as a parent, be the opposite of that, where like I'm learning from my kids as much as they're learning from me. And so I want to make sure that they do feel safe to be able to share things and not feel like they are only saying things to please me,
Yeah, and I think we have a very curiosity-driven household.
Yeah.
I think that's how my household was growing up. And so I think there is space for curiosity and creativity.
Yeah.
Which helps foster that idea of emotional safety as well.
Yeah. What about like confidence then? Like what are, for you, like what's important related to confidence for your kids?
Yeah. So what's interesting is like, I think about this from a standpoint, if you're coming from kind of a traditional school background like we did, there's ways that kids grow confidence, or their confidence is challenged in some ways being in public schools, right? They have to advocate for themselves. They don't have their parents next to them the whole day. They have to adapt to situations, stuff like that. Well, when you're traveling full time, your parents are generally with you all the time. And so I think it was really important for us to make sure that our kids felt confident and independent, because we are both pretty confident and independent. And so, and granted, when they're younger, sometimes it might be a little bit harder to do that, but it can be as simple as like encouraging them to say what they want to order in the language, or even just in English. Just start with just encouraging them to order for themselves at a restaurant. And then when they're more comfortable with that, or they're starting to learn a little bit of language, encourage them to order in the language that you're currently in. We do this with Spanish a lot. And now the kids are very comfortable ordering in Spanish. And so like those little things I think are huge for gaining confidence. But what are some of the other ways that we've fostered that?
I like to do it at the airport of like, oh, so this is where our ticket says we need to go to gate 35B. Kids, how do we get there? And then they are the ones that are looking on the board. They're the ones that are looking around for the gate and leading us there. So just like little things like that. But I feel like this is so important. And ultimately, one of my goals of raising like kids to be travelers is like, I want to instill in my kids the ability to travel on their own.
Yeah.
Not just like with us, but like have the confidence to be like, oh yeah, I've done this so many times with my parents. Now I can do it by myself. And I would love if each of the kids took their, when they're old enough, or when they feel comfortable enough, like take a solo trip or something, because solo travel is so important. And especially, and this is me going on a soapbox for a little bit, but especially as like women, I think women aren't encouraged as much, or girls aren't encouraged as much to be independent, because there's so much like fear of like, oh, are you going to be safe? Like, what happens if you get like harassed, or like, what about sexual assault? Are you even worried about that? Like, those are things that sadly is like a reality of the world, but I think shouldn't deter girls and women to like travel. So something I write about on my website, like I have an article that is focused on like how to teach girls not to fear the world. But that's my own personal mission in the family of like, let's teach our kids how to be solo travelers and how to be confident solo travelers, so that when the time comes, they can do it on their own. And what I love is that our daughter is already like, when I graduate from high school, I'm going to take a gap year. I'm like, yes, do that.
Well, and to expand on that, I think also just giving them a variety of experiences helps build that confidence
Right.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking like modes of transportation, right? So when they travel on their own, they're gonna have to face all sorts of modes of transportation. While we've been on planes and trains and ferries and all sorts of types of transportation, right? And so
Scooters.
renting scooters, renting cars, like just that little exposure, I think helps build confidence of like, well, this isn't something foreign to me. I may not understand all the logistics of how to do it,
Yep.
but I know it's achievable because I saw my parents achieve it.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like I think that is huge. And just like going to a country where you don't speak the language or have any chance of speaking the language, just knowing that they can do that also because they did it as a family, and they got by and they were able to eat and they were able to live and they, I like just showing the ability to achieve that, I think helps build that confidence as well.
Yeah. And I think you bring up, I mean, I think this kind of leads into like our next point of just being like good role models for our kids, right? Like we want our kids to feel emotionally secure, or we have to model that kind of behavior as well.
Yeah. And when you're not being vulnerable enough to own up to that, whether you're feeling like insecure about something or feeling scared about something, or, being able to open up about that too, or being overwhelmed. I mean, like one of the things is when I come to, I feel like I mentioned this in multiple episodes, but like coming to a new airport and like, if it's a really busy touristy airport, you can get bombarded with just so many people vying for your attention and trying to sell you something. They can get very overwhelming. And I've often told the kids that like, that context gets to me and it's hard.
Yeah.
So just like also being vulnerable about that. But what are a couple things that we do now that the kids are a little bit older? I think we mentioned it in like in the romantic episode. But what are some things that we do to foster independence on kind of a real clear-cut independent kind of way?
Oh yeah. So one example I can think of is this was when they were a little bit younger, but we were staying in a villa in Bali, and it was right next to a convenience store. And so sometimes we would send the kids to go next door to like buy something for us. And that sort of, I always used to go, when I was a kid, I always liked running errands for my parents because it makes you feel like so grown up. I got this money, I'm going to go pay. And so that was nice for the kids to like, be able to do that.
Yeah. And another one that I can think of is like when we were in Spain, the grocery store, and there were some restaurants and grocery stores within a couple blocks of where we were staying. And you could see our apartment building from the grocery store and from some of these restaurants. Yeah. So often once the kids, when we were walking home, like once the kids got into eye shot of the apartment, they would want to go run off and go up to the apartment. So we'd let them go by themselves. Or sometimes we would go to a cafe and have a drink while the kids went back to the apartment. Or a couple times they would go down to the grocery store from the apartment, and we could see them kind of from the window. But they would be able to go to the grocery store by themselves, and that was such a cool experience too because it's all Spanish speaking. Mm-hmm. So like they would have to go on their own to buy something in a Spanish speaking country a couple blocks away. It was just this cool. I don't know. It was
but
really
like
cool.
We could see them from our balcony. Like once they left the building, we like looked out and we saw them walking across the street to the grocery store, and then we could see them come back out too. So it wasn't like we're like blindly letting them do their thing. But I think again the kids just felt. You could tell, like when they came back, they're like so proud of like what they did, and they had their bags, and it was cool to like be able to foster those independent moments.
Yep, cool.
I think I feel like another moment is just giving them a chance. As this was more recent, like when we were traveling in Indonesia, and my daughter was like practicing Indonesian a lot more, and just giving her more opportunities to like ask for things in Indonesian or like go shopping in Indonesian. And afterwards she would be like, oh yeah, I spoke to this person at the store, and like I felt like they thought I was Indonesian. Like it just like there's so much pride in her voice of like when she was sharing that story. And so I, like just looking for those moments where they feel comfortable enough to share their proud moments with you and like encouraging that.
Yes. Cool. Anything else?
No, but I think that's it.
Awesome.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Worldschooling Q&A with Astrid and Clint. Be sure to check out the show notes for any links we mentioned in the episode, and visit my website, thewanderingdaughter.com, to dive deeper into worldschooling and family travel.
If you like what you hear, please consider supporting The Wandering Daughter on Patreon. It really helps us out and keeps the show going. You'll also get exclusive perks like episode transcripts, additional resources, access to office hours with us, and more. You can find us on Spotify or the podcast app of your choice. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can tap the bell icon to get notified when new episodes come out. And if you like this episode, please give us a 5-star review. It really helps new people find our show.
If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap the bell icon to get notified of new episodes. You can follow me on Instagram @WanderDaughter or follow The Wandering Daughter on Facebook. Links to these are also in the show notes. If you have any worldschooling questions you'd like us to answer for future episodes, feel free to throw them in the comments or send us a message at thewanderingdaughter.com/podcast. Until next time, happy travels!
Bye!